All right, we're recording. We're calling to order this special meeting of the Sustainable BC Committee. It's Monday, November 25th, 1:31 p.m. Um, we just have a special meeting. It's not a regular scheduled meeting. Really, the only item on the agenda is to review the presentation for the board or for the commission work session coming up on December 17th. So that is the item. Let's just go around, introduce ourselves, just your name and your connection to the committee. Um, I'll just call it and where you're zooming from. I'm Andy Humboldt, community volunteer, zooming from my home in Battle Creek. Chris Martin.
Yes, hello. Chris Martin, urban planner, Battle Creek Unlimited, zooming from our offices in Battle Creek, Michigan.
All right, Mark.
Hi, Mark Stevens, Battle Creek volunteer.
All right, thank you, Kathy.
Good afternoon, Kathy Antea, community volunteer, zooming from my home in Battle Creek. Thank you.
All right, Bob.
Yes, I am Bob Gilbert, community volunteers coming in from my office in Battle Creek.
All righty. Kiona, if you're there, I know you said you had to be off
Hey,
camera.
Kiona, oh, sorry. Kiona Ackley, community volunteer, zooming from my home in Battle Creek, Michigan.
Thank you. And Dee, welcome. We have a new member. I put it over here like on my screen. They're down there.
Thank you. My name is Dee Chauvin, and I am a community volunteer. Yeah, looking forward to getting to know everyone and the work that's happening here. Oh, I'm at my home in Battle Creek.
Doke. And that leaves Patty, whoever is there with you at the team Penny end of the table.
I know we could zoom in a little, I suppose, but Patty Hoke Maluish, City of Battle Creek Environmental, zooming in from Battle Creek at DPW.
Yep. Bessie Plug, also in the environmental department, City of Battle Creek. Next to Patty.
All right. You could also sit at the end of the table that's nearest to us. Ryan just joined us too. Ryan, can you quickly just introduce yourself and where you're zooming from?
Yep. Ryan Ranke with the Calhoun Conservation District, zooming out of the office in Marshall.
Fantastic. Thank you. It makes you marginally bigger. So I'll take that as a ridiculous idea on my part. Anyway, all right, I'll turn it over to Patty. And like I said, our main activity today is just to go over. We need to present the findings of the greenhouse gas inventory to the commission at the work session on the December 17th at 5:30. So Patty has prepared a draft presentation for that. The goal of that would be to familiarize the commission, who there's been some new folks join and one or two new folks just got elected. So to familiarize them with what's going on with our work, the plan, what the greenhouse gas inventory is and how it relates to the plan, and importantly then get some direction from them for how to move forward with creating the new iteration of our plan, or a climate action plan, or a climate action plan addendum to the main sustainability, but whatever that looks like, get some direction from the current commission to know how to move forward from here. All right, Patty.
All right, thank you. So I sent this to, I think, everyone. Dee, you may not have seen this yet, and I apologize. I should have sent this to you. So for Dee's reference, we've not had a greenhouse gas inventory to work from. So our sustainability plan has goals in the plan, and the energy goals are all based off of a reductions in our greenhouse gas emissions, and we didn't have a baseline to go from. So what we accomplished this year, we hired a consultant. Well, I'll walk you through it. So this is the presentation, and I am open for suggestions if you don't like the tone of it, or you don't like anything about it, please chime in and let me know. So and as a note, I spoke with Ted Deering this last week to get his feedback and his suggestions going forward. So I'll kind of talk through that a little bit too.
Minimize it.
Can we, yeah.
Zoom out. There you go.
Okay, you see that better now? Okay. So, this is just, I'm just kind of assuming that we haven't talked to the commission in a really long time. I never have. I know Andy has in the past, and was on the commission, but just kind of giving them an update on what the sustainability plan is. It was established in 2019. Our group, it meets 6 times a year, and it consists of volunteers from local businesses, policymakers, city staff, and engaged citizens in the community. What we do when we meet is work towards meeting the goals that are outlined in the plan. So just a background of the sustainability plan, the plan is broken up into themes or topics, but they're called themes in the plan. There's energy, water, transportation, waste, government management practices, land use, and public outreach and education. And under each one of those themes, there are identified goals. So there are short-term goals, which 2 years ago, 2022, the midterm goals and long-term goals. In 2024, we decided to focus on the energy goals, which then brought us to the need for a greenhouse gas inventory. And here's the cover of the inventory. As a little background, we needed the baseline data to track progress going forward. We had to use the baseline year of 2022 because that was the most current year with complete data to go from. So that will now from here on out serve as our baseline year. We received a $5,000 grant from the Battle Creek Community Foundation to have this inventory conducted. And we opted to do a community-wide inventory rather than just the city of Battle Creek inventory because based on data that are out there from other municipalities, it's found, and it's not surprising that city operations are just a small portion of all the emissions going on in a community. So we wanted to have, full buy-in from the community. We as a city can do things certainly, but we needed to let the community know that we're all kind of in this together and it's going to be accomplished by more than just what the city does. So we contracted with a group called ICLEI. And the reason we went with them is because, first of all, I'm going to speak for Bessie because we've talked about it, I don't have the background to do these inventories. Bob Gilbert helped us a great deal on this, but we just found that we thought maybe having a contractor do this so we can then have a reproducible document. We can go back in a few years and have their data and build on that and know that it's comparable. And other Michigan municipalities have contracted with ICLEI too, so we can compare our data to theirs more. It's just a cleaner comparison. And they provided guidance through the process as well. So our findings came back that we are emitting 1,453,131 metric tons of carbon dioxide on an annual basis. And then this is the breakdown based on the data they had of where our emissions are coming from. So commercial is the largest contributor, residential and down. The sources where we got the data to make to do the greenhouse gas emissions inventory, we have very local data from consumers, Semco. Our DPW provided the water and wastewater data. Battle Creek Transit provided data. The airport, we have their data. And then for our waste emissions, we got data from the Calhoun County Solid Waste Management. So all of those bullet points are very localized, really good data. And I'm not saying the last 3 aren't, but they're just more of that's kind of some of the general inventory tools that ICLEI uses when they don't have specific data for your community. But those are all accepted data sources and really good estimations. So this is this is called the business as usual forecast. And so here we are today, well, 2022, our baseline. And so assuming, and this was before the election, assuming that going forward that our energy sources from, say, consumers is going to be more of a, they're being mandated or by choice going towards a cleaner energy grid with solar and wind, that our, as the city doing basically nothing, that our emissions are going to go down based on where we get our energy from. So our energy suppliers are going to a greener energy source. And that's why with us just kind of plugging along, business as usual, by 2030, it's predicted our emissions will go down 40%. And then by 2050, again, kind of business as usual, it would be a 37% reduction in our 2022 emissions. So that forecast has been a little troubling to us just because we feel like we want to get the rest of the community involved and not just rest on the assumption that our energy suppliers are going to a greener energy base, and that's how we're going to get to our reductions. And again, that's heavily reliant on government-based incentives and is vulnerable to political change for sure. So I wanted to compare our sustainability plan energy goals to the Paris Agreement goals. Our short-term, so for our short-term goals, we were going to determine baseline energy use and cost of buildings regularly occupied by staff. We haven't really accomplished that so much yet, but we did get our greenhouse gas emissions done. Midterm, so that's again the 2025, we were asking for just a 20 or 5% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, which isn't very aggressive based on what the Paris Agreement is looking at a 50% reduction. So tenfold difference in what we have outlined in our sustainability plan versus the Paris Agreement. So these are just our goals. And then our long-term goal, which was 2030, was that 2030? I think it was, achieve a 10% reduction. And by 2050 here, we're looking at 100% reduction. So a bit of a difference there. And so we need to update the plan at some point, but this is where I needed help from this group on both the presentation, but how we're going to present this next slide. So what's in red here is things that we need to talk about. And Ted Deering highly recommended that we come in and give them our recommendation, not discuss what their recommendation would be, because Andy's nodding. So so the questions, well, I guess the recommendations we want to leave the group with is what we want our emissions goal to be, how we want to go, how we would propose presenting this information to the community. We haven't released the report yet at all in any form. And then pursuing a climate action plan, that could be based on the ICLEI quote we just got, like $100,000. Plus, they recommend having a full-time staff person overseeing the sustainability plan or the climate action plan. So based on that, I'm looking for, I guess, some discussion on what our recommendations should be going forward for the commission. That was a lot. And he said to keep it at about, 15 minutes. So with some time for questions, but any feedback on this?
So I keep going back and forth between, and pardon me for those who don't know me, you'll get to figure it out. But I go back and forth between hitting them over the head with what we really should be doing and really need to do, and then scaring the bejesus out of them and having everybody push back and us getting nothing. Because I was going to say, let's suggest that we need that 50% reduction by that deadline. that's just the first opinion I have off the top of my head. Thank you, Patty.
Yep, thanks.
Patty,
Well, remember, one of the things we had talked about before, Kathy, was we didn't think a 2030 goal would make much sense. And that the proposed intermediate goal we thought ought to be a 2035 goal, because that would be 10 years from now.
Can you see it here?
Yeah. And instead of a 50 by 2030, more like a 62.9. Maybe we call that 60 or whatever we want to call it, but a 2035 goal, because that seems like a more interim date between now and 2050. Other thoughts about goals and what we should recommend?
Andy, I got a couple thoughts, as I
Mm-hmm.
probably always do.
Sure.
So, as far as how we approach this, another idea in kind of in conjunction with what Kathy was saying is that there's a lot of science about what we need to do to keep global temperatures from rising a certain number of degrees. And we know pretty well from science what different degree of increases are going to do to the planet. Our recommendations could be, kept in line with that, so that we have good science behind what we recommend. For one, is just as far as a theme of how we might approach this, making sure that we stay aligned with the standards that have been well established, for one. And then on the on the 2050 goal, okay, I see you got it up here, Patty. The 2050 goal is 100% reduction. So I just wanted to make sure we were clear on that. That ultimately, whether we do 2030, and I agree with you, Andy, 2030 is too aggressive. 2035 is probably better. But at the end of the day, however we scale this out, at 2050, we really need to be at zero. And I think that's probably, if you had to look at those two goals, that 2050 goal would be the key one, because it kind of drives the earlier goal. If you're shooting for 100% reduction at 2050, we could probably do it at make a 50 or 60% reduction at 2035 and still get there. And as Patty pointed out, we can't really rely on consumers to do the work for us. But on the other hand, consumers is probably going to make some progress in this area. So, the city's not carrying all of this weight. So anyway, I think for my purposes, I would advocate that we make sure that what we as a committee recommend has good science behind it, and that we could back up why we make those recommendations. Thanks.
Thank you.
If I could suggest on that, go back to that one slide, maybe putting our 2035 proposed goal in its own box, maybe a different colored box to make it stand, because it's not a part of the Paris Agreement, right? It's its own kind of entity, right?
Yep,
Like it's
Yep, that makes sense.
maybe a different color behind it, just so, or maybe do the blue below it, but they had gotten lost. For me, it didn't stand out. I think like it probably should on that page. Yep.
Yeah, to have it on the side of the city's plan and not look like it's the Paris Climate Accords initiative, you mean? That makes
Yeah,
sense, Bessie.
Yep. Okay. So everyone's in agreement that really what's in red here, we want that to be our ultimate recommendation, net zero by 2050.
I agree with that. I think, and I think that's good to make that like the number one, the top recommendation. Like look, the main event here is getting to net zero by 2050. As responsible inhabitants of the planet, we should be doing our share in our community to get to net zero by 2050.
Yeah.
And and to stress that net zero means net, like the word net is important there, right? Like zero, it doesn't mean we're not emitting, that we're emitting literally zero, but that we're emitting only as much as the planet can soak up at the pace that we're emitting it. That's what net means, correct? That's correct, yes?
Right. We want to go, because remember when Matthew was talking about, we just can't plant enough trees to keep,
Right.
right. So our goal of getting to zero of what our 2022 basically is. And we'll be taking into account the green energy sources and all that. So does that make sense? That's my understanding of it.
Kathy, sorry, Kathy, then Ryan.
Sorry to interrupt you, Ryan, because I would just concur with taking a couple of moments to explain that net zero thing, because all of us tree huggers sitting in this room right now certainly understand the net part of it, but I think that might be important to take a couple sentences to explain the net zero part. And I definitely am a supporter of that. And I think using phraseology like Andy talked about as responsible people on the planet, we need to work towards this. And I also am trying to figure out how we can couch that in language that the city commissioners are going to get excited about, like making it a better place to live, or like that little comment down at the bottom, protecting the community health through clean water and clean air. How's that going to translate into dollars saved for people? I think that those kinds of points might be important as well. Thank you.
Good point.
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
A few months ago, we looked at other cities in similar size when their emissions were. Have they come out with what their goals are as of 2050 or 2035?
I believe most all that I have seen, but I can't say 100%, but most of them I think are going with net zero. I don't think I've seen any that haven't been. So that's a good point too, that we're following in line with other Michigan cities, or that's a good point to bring out.
Okay.
No, go. Who's gonna go? Go ahead, Dee.
Sorry, I just had a thought, just because that slide a couple up where it talks about the 40% reduction just from like our providers who are providing our power. Would it be good also though to have like that more immediate goal, that 60% at that time, so we are still putting in work to overshoot that and not just waiting until 2050? I feel like that's kind of been the business as usual way to behave when it comes to climate change, is to wait. And so to give a goal, that would be something that we would start working now, and not just relying on consumers' energy and the other folks to do their part first.
I like that. So sort of maybe an overlay showing our 62% over the top of that graph, and then down to zero by 2050. Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Good point.
Yeah.
Does the 40% reduction only apply if we enroll in the commitment to be using renewable energies?
No, I think this is based on what consumers is doing currently or is projected to do. So you see all the solar farms showing up. That's a lot of consumers. Some of that's consumers anyway. So no, I think this is with us doing nothing, literally just us kind of buying from consumers, and yeah.
I think the hardest part is outlining what we can do.
Yes.
And I could think of a million things, but getting
there.
the general population on board here in Battle Creek, it's tricky.
Yeah, that is gonna be their question is, okay, what are we gonna do? And without the climate action plan, I mean, we all know things we could be doing, but that's where the climate action plan really, gives you a roadmap to do that. But it's also gonna be probably to $150,000 for us to do that. And right now, we don't have a budget line item for that. So that's a little bit of a hurdle right now. So to your point, what do we do to get there?
Okay, sounds good.
Is there any way to mimic other cities and what their plans are? We could steal some of their ideas.
We could.
I just thought of that, yeah.
But a lot of, there's so much, I think a true climate action plan has a lot of focus groups and community meetings and trying to get input, like meetings, physical meetings with the community. So,
Right, because
Just creating an ordinance and telling them this is what you do.
right.
Because importantly, this would be a community goal led by, being led by the government, the community's local government. And it would necessarily entail not just a getting on board of just everyday residents, me and my house and my neighbor in their house, but all the major employers, the major consumers of energy, the other major institutions in town are to me, this would be, it wouldn't, like to Patty's point, a climate action plan wouldn't just be, here's how the city of Battle Creek is gonna save money on lights, stop emitting greenhouse gases, but rather it being the leader in the community and getting everyone else to be doing it as well. And so that needs to come out too. That we're not just talking about the city of Battle Creek. I mean, we're going to do our part, but this is a much more cast our arms around the community and be a leader to get everyone moving in the same direction.
Andy, and along with that point, couple of months ago, I think when I was working with Patty on this, I sent out an email. I could go back and find it, but I had gone through companies that were in Battle Creek that already had climate action plans and that were committed to the 2050 goal of net zero. So if the city was to lead this, they could partner with some of the larger companies in Battle Creek and kind of help them show how they are embracing this. It shows leadership on the commercial side, not just the city saying it, because, the plans I looked at for like Kellogg's, Nippon Denso and Walmart, I guess they're not really in the city, but, they're very aggressive plans and very well detailed and thought out. And, companies like Kellogg's are huge energy consumers. Their cooking processes there, they're burning a lot of energy there, and they can see their way clear to going to 2050. And, maybe some of those companies or representatives of those companies would like to highlight their leadership in this area and kind of, work with the city on that to show what they're just basically showing what they're doing. And that might show other smaller businesses like, wow, if a company that consumes that much energy could do it, maybe I can do it too. And you never know, if a company wants to step up, they may even offer some assistance in some areas, to help with this, just to be a good community company. So we're not alone in this, is basically what that I was saying.
Yeah. Kathy?
Thanks, Sandy. And so absolutely, Bob. I was thinking about maybe having an additional slide or a couple of slides, one that has the city on it, one that has industry and businesses on it, one that has residents on it, and give the city commissioners some examples of things that could be done by each those separate groups. so that the commissioners just aren't thinking about people turning down their thermostats. No, there's all kinds of different things that residents might do. There's all kinds of different things that industry and businesses might do. And like Bob said, a couple of these places have some really robust climate action plans. And if we could show that they're partnering, like Bob said, if they can do it, well, we could too. And then we also continue with a slide that shows what more the city could do, including getting that climate action plan. So that was one of the ideas that I had. And then I just want to back up for a second because this Sustainable BC committee was originally started to address city operations and not the community wide. That was not what I was really thrilled about, but nonetheless, it's still a focus on city operations. And I think we need to make sure that the commissioners know historically that's why it was started and that's where it is landing. And that we need to, in order to reach goals for 2050, we need to expand the view of the Sustainable Battle Creek Committee, perhaps. No, not perhaps. We will need to do that. We'll need to get the whole city involved. Because I don't think the commissioners necessarily understand that we're supposed to be focusing on city operations only, but that isn't going to get us to where we need to go. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that needs to be, I mean, it's kind of mentioned earlier on. And
Yeah, but I think that's a really good point too.
but yeah, that we need to be clear that we're talking about the big shift that Kathy has just
No,
explained
maybe
that.
I didn't put that out there. No. Okay. Yep.
Like I know you said it, but I don't remember where it was, but you said it, Patty, that this is that the greenhouse gas isn't just a city Battle Creek thing. The inventory isn't just a city Battle Creek inventory, it's inventory of the entire community.
Okay.
And so whatever work we're going to be doing going forward, now is the time to transition from the city of Battle Creek just taking care of its own business to being a leader in the community so that the entire community can be doing its share. And to Bob's point, many of the large entities and small entities in the community probably already are doing a great deal of work. And so as we move forward, that will necessarily involve a larger community-wide, maybe there will have to be maybe there will still be a City of Battle Creek Sustainable BC community, but there will have to be some sort of larger community-wide entity, whether that entity is just a series of meetings led by the City of Battle Creek or whether there's an actual committee or something. I don't know, but I would hesitate to go too far down the line of adding slides that suggest action other than just stating here's the big picture of what we need to do. I think we need to stay focused on what do we need a mandate from the commission that says, yes, we want to, the city of Battle Creek wants to lead the community of Battle Creek to a 2050 goal of becoming a net zero community. And if that's what we're committed to doing as the city government, then okay, now we could then from there move forward. And yes, we could, I mean, I think we need to be prepared to say, if the question is, well, is that even possible? Yes, it's possible. There's science, the science says it's possible. There are all kinds of things that we can be doing. There will be things that we'll need to do that we don't know that it even exists yet. That's why it's a 2050 goal. But there are things we can be doing now. There's planning we need to be doing as a whole community and not just a city. But that what we need here is a commitment to a specific goal.
Okay. Yeah, that's good feedback because I've not been to a workshop before, so I don't know how much to lay out or ask of the commission, but you're saying our goal should just be getting that agreement that net zero by 2050. Andy?
Yes, that's what I think. Kathy?
I hear what you're saying, and I can't help but continuing to think of this question, and that is The city commissioners need a reason to say yes to us, and their views, because of their 2-year term limits, might be a shorter term goal. We need to give them something that they can say to their constituents. Yes, we adopted this plan because it's going to make your life better. How? Now? What? I don't mean to be a thorn in our side, but I hear a lot of city commissioners saying that kind of stuff to me. How can I vote on this when it's not going to help us now? Thank you.
Will this be a vote, or is this just sort of an informational session? I'm sorry, I'm not real up on the political side of all this.
And I misspoke. I'm sorry, Patty. I just meant for them to adopt it. Sorry.
Oh,
Go ahead.
yeah. Nope, all good.
Yeah, there won't be a vote in this. But if we're going to go forward in moving forward, we need to know what a goal is. And so the result of this meeting, in my mind, would be consensus from the commission, where everyone around the table nods and says, yes, go forth and plan for a net zero by 2050 goal. And then whatever the next iteration of the plan is, whether that, a climate action plan or version 3.0 of the sustainability, whatever that is, then will have to be adopted by the commission.
Okay.
At a future time. And the bigger, my sense would be that the bigger, like, I understand what Kathy is saying, and yes, they're going, like, what's the benefit? What is the benefit for the people of the city of Battle Creek of moving of doing this? The other big question is going to be the third bullet of, okay, if we're going to move forward and plan, what is it going to cost us? And to say it's going to cost from $100 to $150,000, like, that's a big line item that we don't have right now. And so I could see there being commissioners say, "Oh, yeah, I'm all for being net zero by 2050, but I'm not for pulling $150,000 out of somewhere where we don't have $150,000."
Let me do a little digging around for, what the likelihood of getting some sort of grant funding for that. I think there might be some funding out there for it, but I can't say that right this minute. So.
Well, to Bob's point, like, if part of the shift here is moving toward a community-wide thing, and we would necessarily be reaching out to all these other larger entities and communities saying, hey, let's all get together on this. Let's sit down together. Let's figure this out. It's also possible, like Bob said, that, like, a lot of these places, Kellogg, whoever, may already have their own plans. They could contribute to it, and they might, whatever they're doing, they might also be willing to put money toward the development of a community-wide plan. They're already putting resources in it to some extent, right? So it isn't, when we say it's going to cost $150,000 to develop a plan, it's not necessarily $150,000 completely out of the city's pocket.
Right.
And Patty, can I ask, you had said that you got a quote for the climate action plan. Is that what I heard you say?
Yeah, I'll pull it up. Let me
Okay.
see if I can find it. I can share. Can you see this? Did it change? Notes from Ted Deering call?
I
Are you
haven't.
seeing
No,
No.
I
that?
haven't seen it.
Okay, I gotta stop then and start again. Okay, let's try it again. Where is it? Okay. All right, so this is the quote I got from ICLEI in the so mitigation portion 50,000, adaptation portion 50,000, report writing, equity portion. So I don't even really know what a lot of these are, but it's the numbers are looking big to me.
Well, one thing I just wanted to mention about that, and I don't know that it would come up at the meeting, but we have been talking about whether or not you would say to the commission, we need $150,000. I think it's premature to say that. We don't know how much money you would need because this is just one quote. And
True.
there are many grants, the Michigan, what do they call it? The Michigan Healthy Plan, which
Healthy
is
climate, yeah.
which is a funny name because it suggests that it's not about environmental, but it really is. But anyway, there's a lot of grant money in there. And with, like Andy said, we may get partnerships on this. So I don't think at that meeting, we should say what we think a climate, we should just ask, would you want to pursue a climate action plan? And
That's a
then we
really
can,
good point.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. That's a great idea.
Yeah, this is Chris. I have also been pursuing, Robert, I was awarded some technical assistance on another potential fund of revenue that we're pursuing. I met with the first advisor a few weeks ago, and I'm going to meet again. They haven't released the opening of projects, but there is some funding that will be available, and the city will have to pursue it quite immediately if that's the case. There's a few different tiers. Strategic planning is one of them. I was able to connect up with the former director of the Detroit sustainability department, who now works for a consulting agency. We kind of shared some numbers too. So yeah, I think there's a range we could pursue. The funding that I was looking at required no local match either. So I think what we might want is a go ahead to pursue funding or to pursue potentially some figures on how to make it more tangible and not get held up in, how much it will cost potentially. So
yeah, I
Yeah.
agree, Chris,
Yeah.
100%. That's great feedback.
and I also think especially in the new environment, we need to be really, I mean, I like the term climate action plan, but that seems so unrelatable to a lot of people that are living paycheck to paycheck. I think that seems like a problem when you have the money, you can afford to deal with that. I think we somehow have to word it in a way that comes across as we're doing this to help. We are helping do this to help the business bottom line. I mean, most people are going to be interested in the bottom line of how it's going to directly affect them. So I think by doing this type of plan, we could talk about the benefits to the community of doing this plan. Like we could be, through these action steps, we could pursue other dollars to promote more energy efficiency for all residents, but especially those of lower income or on fixed incomes. Because yeah, consumers is going to get more efficient, but over the next 30 years, our rates are also going to go up too. So this is a way to combat that. I think that might be like what Andy said and Kathy that might help a little bit more politically because that term climate can become become an issue point, but somehow relating it towards that community health, community resiliency. I think that might be more welcoming perhaps to people in the middle of the road. So, because I was asking about that with BCU, because we work with a lot of these larger companies that have these goals. Some of these goals are at the corporate level and not necessarily at these manufacturing facilities that we have a lot of times. So, but yeah, I did bring that up with other communities of getting stakeholder from the public and private sectors and nonprofit groups as well too, like our hospitals and others. But we also want to promote sustainable development too. We want to bring more housing and we want to bring in more. So how do we combat those issues and not just say, well, we want to reduce emissions. Well, we want to grow in a way that's better for everyone. So somehow, yeah, because it's like from the looks of it, oh, we just want to cut. Someone say, well, we don't want to cut growth in our city, right? We don't want to do that. We want to grow in a smart way. So kind of a tall order for a PowerPoint.
No, but no, I think that's good feedback because I think it synthesizes the things that a lot of us have already been saying here. And so maybe that slide, yeah, that slide right there, like like maybe really the first bullet is the only bullet really that we're that at this point at least. Here's so given this the greenhouse gas emission the inventory. I keep forgetting the word inventory. I don't know why. Given the inventory, we're recommending that the community of Battle Creek steps up and adopts a goal of net zero by 2050. Here are the benefit. Here are the ways that the community and the residents of our community, the businesses and residents of our community would benefit from our community doing that. Do you agree, Commission? Yes. Do you agree that we want this goal and with it to achieve these benefits for our community? Period. If you do agree, then as a committee, we will then go forth and figure out, okay, where are the steps from here to there? We will come back with you, Commission, in however long it takes, with some options, with some plans, with some costs, with some partners at the table, with whatever. But like, we need a commitment to that goal before any of the other stuff matters. By stuff, I mean potential actions.
That helps a lot. That keeps it just really clean, and we're asking for one thing, basically. Yeah. No, I think that is very helpful.
You know, to Bob's point about what could cost anything. We really, I mean, like to avoid just guessing and avoid hypotheticals. Well, here people could do this, people could do that. No, it might cost this, it might cost that. No. Can we commit to the goal? If we're committing to the goal, yes, it's going to involve, and there will be questions, and we'll have to be prepared to answer some of these questions. Some of this stuff can come out as answers to questions, but I think keeping it direct and simple as far as the presentation and what we're asking the commission to consent to needs to be simple, direct. Yes, we want that, and so that it isn't a question of, okay, if you want that, then here's all this other stuff we got to do. But if you want that, here are the benefits. Here are the benefits to our community and its people for doing that. Do we want this?
I like that approach a lot.
And Andy, I do too. I think that's a good approach. But you mentioned that, like you're anticipating there could be a question about what is the benefits to our community. So we would need some kind of a list. I mean, Chris mentioned a few things that we could benefit, but
yes. Sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, that's what I'm suggesting is that the rest of that this slide here is there is a single bullet at the top with recommendations, and then the rest of it is here would be the benefits to our community, you know, a list of bullets under it of here are the benefits to our community for us if we were to achieve 20 by 0 by 2050, here are the benefits to our community and its people.
It's kind of like saying that if we adopt this, you're kind of giving us the empowering us to move forward with pursuing all of these other benefits.
Yes.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. How about I'll go back, and if you guys have some things you want to add, I'll do another draft and send it out here in the next day or so, and feel free to comment on that. And I'll add what everyone wants to include.
Mm-hmm.
Kathy, does that make sense to you with regard to like, because I really appreciate what you're coming here with the like, okay, what are these commissioners going to be thinking? And they're going to be thinking, I completely agree with your analysis of commissioners are going to be thinking, what's in it for me and my people now?
So absolutely, I keep going back to that question in my head, and I'm nodding. You can't see me nodding because I got my camera off because my internet's dicey. But
Okay.
I'm nodding with what y'all are saying. I'm agreeing with it, and I love the idea of just having that one bullet point on this slide about, hey, this is what we want to do. This is what we're recommending that we do. Do you guys want to do it? Yes or no? I like that. And the pessimist in me is saying, yeah, and 5 of the 9 are going to say, no, we think climate change is bullshit and pucky, and we're not going to buy into it. We don't think man has anything to do with this darn climate change that you left-wing liberals are pushing at us, and we aren't going to vote for it. That's just what I can see this playing out. I'm hoping
Right.
that's total pessimist. Thank you.
Well, and if that is the case, then that's what we need to know, and that's part of the reason why like we just need to know like if the commission is not behind the net zero by 2050, then we need to know that, because all this other hand wringing we're doing will be like we will have to move into a completely different frame of mind and a completely different sort of planning mission if that's the case.
So are we in agreement to try to change the wording and not to say climate action plan during this whole presentation? Are we electing to maybe change that so we don't slip up and say anything climate change related? Or is that possible?
Did we decide we weren't even gonna talk about
Yeah,
a
I don't think we need to be talking about a climate action plan at all. I mean, we can certainly we reference, going forward, we will obviously need to add to develop a much more specific and I don't want to say aggressive. I want to avoid the word aggressive, but like there will need to be significant amount of planning both internally and with the community going forward. But we don't, but we don't need to say there will be a climate action plan. Even if
I don't think, regardless of how we talk about this, I don't think we're going to be able to avoid the word climate and action. So, I mean, I think we can just do our best to use as neutral tones or neutral words as possible, whatever the heck that means. But I don't think we should avoid saying we need to pursue a climate action plan. Maybe I'm talking out both sides of my mouth, but that's just the way I feel. They're gonna, no matter what we say, someone's gonna read through it to see what we're trying to sneak in.
Well, the thing about a climate action plan is that it is a very specific thing that one would pursue. It is a known quantity, you know how to build them and things. I think if we just say that if the city embraces this, that we as a committee are going to help them come up with a specific detailed set of plans that would help them achieve their goals. Because a climate action plan, some of them may think, I've heard about those, I don't like those. Well, all it is a specific set of plans to help you achieve your goals. Maybe we won't get a climate action plan, maybe we'll get something else, but clearly if you adopt this 2050 goal, you're going to have a set of really specific plans.
But I think the way you just said that though, Bob, is not threatening at all.
Yeah.
A specific set of plans to achieve your goals. That's a different, that has a different feel to me. So I like that. Yep.
Memorize that, Patty.
I've got it written down, Kathy.
I like those phrases. Good deal.
Yep. So. Well, this has been really, really helpful. So like I said, I'll revamp this a little bit and incorporate what I heard from you guys and get it back out to you. And we got a little time. So.
All right, and we are not live streaming, so there isn't any live public feedback, and I don't see anyone else no one else has joined our Zoom here. So I'm gonna assume we have no public comment at this point.
Could we take a minute for Dee to kind of tell us why she's interested? Is this the appropriate meeting, or should we do it at the next meeting?
Sure, go ahead, Dee.
Don't mean to put you on the spot, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I'd love to hear more about everyone else's background and kind of the work that they're doing individually as well in the future. But I heard about this when I recently joined planting trees in the area off of was it off of Michigan or Jackson Street? Jackson Street. And I'm just really interested in environmental issues, specifically in conservation and protecting wildlife and all of that type of stuff. I do a podcast about environmental issues. It's based out of Kalamazoo, though. I work with a group in Kalamazoo, and we just kind of pull all these community organizations, representatives to come and talk about how their work is intersecting with the environment. And they really take a holistic approach about how the environment is everything. So they really also try to avoid talking about the issue of climate and try to make it really accessible to people. So a lot of that conversation that folks are having today, I'm like, yes, yes, absolutely. Let's talk about clean water. Let's talk about clean air because that's impacting people right now. And climate is just, it's inaccessible. It's out there somewhere. So yeah, so I'm just really excited to be getting involved with the work here in the community where I live, and seeing some more of that. So was that what you had in mind?
Perfect. Where could we find your podcast? What's it called and where would we find it?
Yeah, it's called Connecting Communities, Kalamazoo Earth Day. It's available on any podcast streamer, so Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, all of those. And we release a new episode every other Wednesday.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Welcome.
thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, welcome to the committee, Dee.
Welcome.
Thanks.
All right, sounds good. So Patty, you're good to go.
I am, and thank you all for spending another hour with us on this. We needed the input and it was good,
Yeah.
good stuff. So thank you.
All right,
Patty,
thanks
and
all.
thank you for
Uh,
your work on this as well, Patty. None of this would happen without you and
Well, it's a
Bessie.
group effort for sure. Oh, and then if anybody wants to come to the commission meeting on the 17th of December, 5:30. So, but we'll meet before then, I think. Or do we meet after this? After,
We
yeah.
meet after that.
Okay, so, yep.
Yeah.
I'd love to have a full room. So,
Yep, that'll be in the commission chambers at 5:30 on Tuesday, December 17th.
Yep.
All right, thanks all. We will adjourn to 28. Thanks.